You're welcome back. We're now joined by Mr. Ruben Buhari, journalist and the press officer of Christian Solidarity Worldwide Nigeria, joining us from Kaduna State. Good morning, Mr. Buhari. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to have you, but the news coming from Kajuru is quite worrying, depressing for a lot of people who have endured these kinds of stories coming out from northern Nigeria. Now, we understand that over 160 people have been kidnapped from churches in Kajuru. You tried to visit those areas. In fact, one of your videos went viral. So I'd like you to help Nigerians understand what you saw, your experience when you visited, and where we're at right now.
Okay, where we are right now is the fact that 177 people are in the bush right now as I'm talking to you. And they've been in the bush now for the past 2 days because they were abducted on Sunday. On Sunday around 9, they converge on the 3 churches in the community to hold their service. And there's an Aqua Church, there's a Cherubim and Seraphim Church 1, then Cherubim and Seraphim Church 2. So they all came to hold service, and then around 9:30, armed gunmen, some on foot, some on motorcycles, came, splitted themselves into 3 groups, and then just surrounded the 3 churches and took the people into the bush. Now, because of the insecurity around that area, the members of Aqua Church delayed going to church. I think their service usually start around 9:30. So if you look at the numbers of people they are taking, they had less members than the Cherubim and Seraphim, you know. So right now, as we are talking, they're in the bush. So they took them, I think about over 200 people they took, walked into the bush. After a while, they now allowed the elderly, the old ones, and then those who are nursing children and to go back. They continue with them. And then in the process, because they are working with people who are over 100, but 11 people were able to escape too, and then they left. So right now we have 177 people who are in the bush. And you know, the most amazing thing is that we got the report of this thing on Sunday. Sunday in the afternoon, reports started coming out that there has been a mass abduction in Kajuru, in Ngwangwali. And Ngwangwali is about 1.5 hour drive, you know, from Kaduna metropolis, if you are going to Kachia. So we started making contacts, you know, and the good thing is that there's excellent network in the community. So we're able to do a lot of communication with people out there. We're waiting to see what the government will say, you know, nothing in the evening on Sunday, nothing in the morning on Sunday, nothing. And then we decided to physically go there to see what is happening. And that's where the whole drama started, you know, drove to the place, met the security men around Makali. You know, there's a checkpoint there, told them, identify myself, and I said, I'm going to Kurminwali to see what is happening, and they said it's okay. And they told me that the sector commander is already there together with the local government chairman, who is also there, Dauda Madaki. So when they drove past the first community, Adinga, I was approaching Kurminwali when I saw the military coming up. And now because the road is bad and it's narrow, so I moved to the side, you know, the car to allow them to pass. And an officer came and met me, and I said, where am I going? I said, I'm going to Kurminwali to see what's happening. How did you get to hear about the whole thing? And he said, it's out there. I had a conversation with some of the people, and he said, he's coming. Went back to the car, came back, and he said, I can't go. I said, why? Who is there? He said, the chairman is with them. And the sector commander, I said, okay, tell the chairman is Ruben. Please, let me talk to him. He knows me. He came back, and he said, the chairman is not there. I said, well, you said he's there. I said, okay, let me talk to the sector commander. He came back and said, no, that I should just leave. I said, why? He said I should just leave. I said, can you give me a reason why you are not allowing me to go in, that I should just leave? And then when I was about to go, he said, there's clearance operation going on around the area. I said, well, no problem. So I just turned my car, and, you know, they positioned themselves. And one car was in front, one at about 3 or 4 were behind. led me to the route, and then I left, So basically, that was what played out on yesterday, Monday.
Well, interesting. I'm just wondering why you were prevented from, accessing the community beyond the fact that there were clearance operations going on. But we hope that that is valid reason enough, and it's nothing else to the contrary to suggest that, perhaps they're trying to protect or to guard the information from getting out beyond what we already know. But you say you interacted with members of the community.
Yes.
And
Can I say something to that?
okay, very quickly, before I get to my actual question.
Yeah. Okay, because we spoke to people in the community, and it was very difficult for them to speak because they said the chairman came and he said, please, that they should not talk to anyone. They should just keep this news within themselves. They'll try as much as possible to quickly bring out to these people. And so basically that was the reason they were acting on the orders of the chairman, not to talk to anybody, not to divulge what happened in that community.
And it does suggest that the information about the kidnap was being guarded closely. So perhaps what was put out initially was a lie. But if we revisited the public relations officer's statement yet again, he said that during that meeting that was held at the Kaduna Government House, that some members of the community were the ones who said nothing of the sort happened. I'd like you to react to that based on your experience, based on your interaction with members of the community. How true is that?
Okay, you see, what happened? I also had an interaction with the youth leader that was said to have told people that nothing happened. And he said the chairman reached out to him and he said, they don't want this news to get out, So he should tell people that nothing happened. And then they also reached out to one or two people and they insisted and they said nothing. From when it happened, there was a deliberate attempt to close down the news, to black it out. It was deliberate. People were spoken to and they were told not to speak to the press or to anybody out there. So those people who spoke, they actually spoke on the instruction that they got that they should not speak to anyone. So that was the reason when they came out from that security meeting that they held at the government house. You saw the PPRO said nothing happened. The chairman said nothing happened, and all the other people around kept saying nothing happened. And it was actually contrary to what actually took part, what happened in the community.
It's quite an interesting development, but now the story is out there. But from your view, I know you're not a security expert, but this is the question Nigerians are asking. Since you're familiar with the area, what do you think made, because we must give kudos to the governor for the effort he's made in the past. Perhaps this embarrassment of all of that effort being rubbished is why they are closely guarding it. But we've seen some, de-escalation, literally a peaceful situation compared to the previous administration. So we can't take that away from him. But what has happened, and we cannot deny what is true. And that is where we say they were wrong on this one. A holding statement would have served rather than outright denial. Now, who is embarrassed? Everybody's embarrassed. What does the area look like in terms of geography that makes it easy or made it easy for this to happen?
Okay, it's remote. And it's remote because the road to the place is not good. Now, from the main road, okay, if you're going to that place on your way to Kachia, I think it's about an hour or thereabout, you get to Makali, which is a community, and then you take your right road, and then you drive in the bush for like 6 kilometers. Now, the 6 kilometers is based on the assumption that you are driving on a very smooth road, but it should take you close to 40 minutes to actually get to the place. Now, the place is remote. There's no good route into that place. So communities around that place have repeatedly been attacked. Now, Kunminwali is one of the last communities that is even standing. If you go beyond Kunminwali community, there's Dogonuma, there's Ungwampada, and some other communities out there. All these communities have repeatedly been attacked. In fact, some of them have had to abandon their communities and move into Kurminwale and some other things like that. So the issue is that the community is a bit remote. Assessing it is a bit remote. It's very easy for these people to come in, do all the attacking and kidnapping and whatever it is that they do and go before the military come in. And like you said, I want to commend the military and even the state government for what they've been doing. We've seen improvement, in the security. We've seen improvement in what they are doing. But what happened here, for me, would have been handled differently. And for me, they said, look, we had an incident here, reassure the people, yes, there was an incident, but security is on top of the matter. We're pursuing these people and we'll try as much as possible to see that we bring them back. That would have, solved the issue rather than stopping people from going into that place. Apart from it, the other people that made an attempt to go there and they were stopped and told to go back. So by the time they kept doing that thing, it kept raising a lot of curiosity in people. Now, if you claim that nothing happened in that community, why are you stopping people from going in? And unfortunately, the place had excellent network. Virtually everybody in the community has a phone. So it was very easy for people to, keep calling and verifying all this kind of thing. But communities around that place, and not just Kurminwadi, you see, Kejuru has been terribly hit in terms of this insecurity, And what I realize is that by the time the military come into this particular area and they go after these kidnappers, these bandits, they simply move to another area. And they concentrate in that place. And by the time they go after them, and they are going after them, they move to another area again. And, it's vast. It's very, very vast forest that is there. Very, very vast forest. So they simply move from here to there. And they continue harassing these vulnerable people on and on.
So we have this, terrible situation in our hands. That's not to take away the work that has been done previously by the security government of Kaduna State, but this is clearly an issue that must be resolved right now. I'd like you to answer 3 questions. 1, has contact been made yet with these people in the bushes, the worshippers who were abducted from the 3 churches? Has there been any sort of contact between them, the family, or even the kidnappers and their families? And that takes me to the next question. Who are these kidnappers? What are you hearing from the communities? Terrorists? Bandits? One and same anyway, but what kind of tag do we have right now for those responsible? And the third question, why target a church? Particularly at this time where we've had, series of attacks on churches and the government is trying so hard to first clear its image with the United States and also try as much as possible to ensure that some of these attacks don't happen again. So 3 questions, Mr. Buhari.
Okay, yeah. I wouldn't want to really go into the security situation seriously, but I can tell you that contact has been made. When I spoke to some of the victims, because there were some who managed to escape, whose families are still with them, and they said yes. Yesterday, I think in the afternoon, that the kidnappers called, and they've started making demands, so that is that. And then I don't really know why they pick a church, but I think it's because this is a soft target and you have so many people in one place, and like I said, this community has repeatedly been attacked. They've had a lot of people being abducted from them. On the 11th, 21 people were taken from that community, and they paid about 7 million naira before those 21 people could come back. Right now, as I'm talking to you, there's one of them who is at St. Gerard Hospital. He's lying critically ill because of the beating. And then so they've had this, sometimes they'll have to run into the bush, These guys will come in, pack their livestock, pack their chicken and stuff like that. So they've been doing that. So I think it's basically because this is a soft target, and then they have this mass people congregated, in one particular place. I think for me, this is the reason, because mass abduction have actually been taking place, but I mean we've not been witnessing in that. And I think anytime they do this mass abduction, the return seems to be much higher than individual abduction. So possibly that is the reason that they've been doing. I don't know what was
the third question is, who is responsible for this? From what you're hearing from the people as we wind up.
And this is based on the conversation we've had with them. They said when they came, and then they surrounded the churches, because what they were saying is that everybody, they were saying in Hausa, Kowa Kwanta Kasa, everybody lie down on the floor, Kowa Kwanta Kasa, in Hausa. And they said what they were saying from their Hausa, they knew it was pure Fulani, who were doing that. And they said they've had these attacks, they've had this conversation with them, previous attacks, and they knew they were these people who came in. So these are bandits who speak Fulani, who came in based on what these people are saying, who did all these things. Because even when they call, you could hear the accent very thick, speaking heavily, thickly accented Hausa. So they are Fulani militia, like we call them here. We call them Fulani militia, who have been doing these terrible things here.
Let's just get one more very quickly before we wrap up this. Can you tell us what security formations look like in Kajuru local government? You did acknowledge that things have improved there as far as security is concerned, but in terms of perhaps there's a forward operating base, police architecture, can you describe it very quickly?
Okay, yeah. The challenge here is because the place is vast, Kajuru is vast. So you have a lot of ungoverned spaces. And like I said, we've witnessed a lot of improvement in terms of security situation. We've seen where the military, they've actually gone into the bush after these people, But like I said, the problem is that you have a lot of these bandits spread all over, a lot of groups out there. So by the time you push these people, they move to one side. And the security arrangement is that on the road, you have a lot of security. Like if you're going to Kachia, you pass almost like 3 military checkpoints who are there, who have actually been helping. And then there's another new one that came in just before Afogo, because they realized that is a route that this bandit usually takes. So they've just put one, I think about a month ago, they've just put one there now. But the problem is the communities that are inside. That is where the problem. These people are basically vulnerable. Apart from their own small domestic, arrangement to see how they can, protect themselves, they are virtually vulnerable. And this is tied to the fact that the area is so large. I mean, before you can begin to police all these areas, is a bit difficult. So that is the situation. On the road, communities on the road, honestly speaking, they are peaceful. But those communities out there, like, for example, Kulminwali is about 6 kilometers from the road. Right. And behind Kulminwali, there are like almost 10 other communities. So you walked almost like 20, 30 kilometers from the main road before you can get into some of these communities, So that basically seems to be the problem. Communities, remote communities are actually vulnerable. Right. No security out there. To them, apart from what they usually do, the small, vigilante and stuff that they usually do to protect themselves.
Well, Mr. Ruben Buhari, we have to thank you for your time and for these insights. I've been speaking with Mr. Ruben Buhari, journalist and the press officer of CSWN, joining us from Kaduna State. Thank you once again. So indeed, 177 people were abducted from the churches in Kaduna State on Sunday, and this is a developing story that will continue to follow. But we'll take a quick moment now, and when we return, there's more for you on the Morning Brief. Stay with us.